Hello everybody, it's back to the League Cup where we'll be at home to Hull City in the third round. Kick-off on Tuesday at the Olympic Stadium will be 7:30pm. It'll be straight to penalties again should the scores be level after 90 minutes. And, as is the habit of the nitwits who organise this competition, they've already done the draw for the next round, where a trip to the winners of the Everton versus Fleetwood tie awaits the victors. Our match doesn't appear to be scheduled for TV at present, which means officially that you'll probably have to shell out an Ayrton for the stream. I believe this very website will be providing some form of update via YouTube or some such stuff, so why not give them a go? Hull City then. Well, there's a number of spooky parallels between this match and our tie in the last round. For a start, Hull are managed, like Charlton, by a former hammer, Grant McCann. Sadly for McCann, the main memory for most of us of what wasn't a particularly long first 11 career at the Bowling will be what one can only describe as a comedy own goal in a thrashing that we got dealt with at Blackburn Rovers. The coincidences don't just stop there. Like Charlton, they were relegated to Division 3, or whatever you want to call it, last season, Hull finishing bottom of the bunch. Just like Charlton, they've had issues with their ownership. And, just to add an extra layer of meaningless coincidence, like Charlton, they'll come to us just a few days after having taken on Crewe Alexandra in the league. That particular run of coincidence will come to an end with this match, as Crewe's next opponents are MK Dons, who were knocked out of the League Cup by Coventry in the first round. Hull have had a decent start to the season, with an impressive 2-0 win down at Gillingham, who had enjoyed a long unbeaten run at the end of last season. They maintained their 100% record in the league by beating Crewe 1-0. Their late winner from Malik Wilkes having a bit of an element of unpunished offside about it. Those two wins see them third on goal difference behind Ipswich and Lincoln City. Their League Cup progress has been by way of penalties, beating Sunderland 5-4 up on Wearside after a goalless draw, and beating Leeds 9-8 at Ellen Road after a late Leeds equaliser levelled the scores at 1 each. Hull are owned by a chap called Assem Alam. His run-ins with the support over the past few years seem to have quietened down a bit since the period when he was advocating a change of name to Hull Tigers. One of the more risible statements he came out with at the time was his comment that, were he the owner of Manchester City, he would change the name of the club to Manchester Hunter. I'm sure the owners up at Eastlands are kicking themselves for not taking the advice of an owner who took his club down to the third tier last term. Things could have turned out so much different for them. Daisy, the socially bubbled personal assistant with a beautiful smile, informs me that relegation last season has brought in a wholesale change of personnel on a scale not witnessed since the closed season at So Bad It's Brilliant TV club Harchester United, which changed its cast every year as actors moved on to better things, which, given the ludicrousness of that show, probably included the dole queue. Up at Hull, 12 players left to be replaced by 8 new boys. Daisy was unable to find an awful lot of information on defender Festus Arthur. The 20-year-old German-born Ghanaian came through the ranks at Stockport and signed a 3-year deal at the KC Stadium in July. His name has had me scratching my head for hours as to who was the last person I encountered to bear that forename. It came to me eventually. Festus was one of the deputies in the 1960s Western TV show Gunsmoke, which probably means nothing to 99% of you unless your name is Matt Dillon. Hull have 2 ex-Hammers in the squad. Rhys Burke dates from that period when our academy output consisted exclusively of players called Rhys. He was one of those who never quite made the breakthrough in that spell, and most of his time was spent elsewhere on loan, including a season up at Bradford where he picked up their Player of the Year award. Another nearly man was Norwegian youngster Martin Samuelsson. There looked to be something about the player on those occasions when we actually saw him. However, such optimism clearly wasn't shared on a daily basis by the coaching staff, and he was quietly released in January. It's probably fair to say few were actually aware he was still at the club. Hull snapped him up on a 30-month deal. In his various loan deals with Peterborough twice, Burton Albion, Blackburn Rovers and Belgian outfit VVV Venlo, he amassed 3 goals in something like 50 league matches. His last loan spell saw him sent back to Norway to turn out with Haugesund, where he scored 6 in 28 appearances, which probably says a lot about the standard of Norwegian domestic football. Let's move on. So what's happening in the wild and wacky world of association football, Percy, I hear you ask? Well, this weekend we've seen Spurs supporters getting all excited about the return of Gareth Bale, who has made comment to the effect that he's hungry for trophies. Not planning on hanging around then, Gareth. Elsewhere, we were treated to one of the most bizarre spells of punditry since Glenn Hoddle stopped being paid to make ITV's main commentators sound intelligent. Patrice Evra was the chap. Apparently, he made some sort of comment that suggested that Wilfried Zaha may, at some stage, have been romantically involved with David Moyes' daughter. The ashen-faced presenter on Sky's programme looked quite flustered when she had to read out her prepared apology, confirming in a statement that no such relationship had ever existed and apologising to all concerned. The statement also said, "Please don't sue us," although not in so many words. It was weird and funny at the same time. A bit like the time that idiot got the boot from Blue Peter and the old dear who produced the show came on to tell the kiddies how much he'd let them down.
We're all very sorry and upset about this.
Meanwhile, up at Goodison, poor old Slaven Bilic got a red card for trying to have a debate with arrogant fraudster Mike Dean. Apparently Slav forgot to bow and address Dean as Your Royal Highness before speaking. Most referees would have had words along the line of, "Can't speak to you now, Slaven, let's put a note in our diaries for, say, 3 o'clock. Of course, this being Dean, with a nice TV camera only feet away, he wasn't going to miss the opportunity to grab the centre of attention, and that familiar, arrogant wave of the red card was inevitable. I'd appeal, Slav, if I were you. Most of Dean's reds get rescinded one way or another. OK, let's move on to us then. Take a look at my preview for the Arsenal game. To save you the bother, I'd like to point out that I predicted that we would lose 2-1 in a much improved performance, but that ultimately the antics of Michael Oliver would prove too insurmountable an obstacle. I wasn't wrong, was I? Last week, Oliver gave a penalty decision that, according to the laws of the game, was unequivocally incorrect. Now, we could be charitable and say that he might have missed the ball flicking up off the knee of the Leeds defender, though this would require a leap of faith, given that he was staring right at the incident. Of course, this is where VAR is supposed to come in. What did the idiot do in the bunker? Did he point out the specific and clear instruction that no penalty should be given if the ball is played at close range off one part of your body onto your arm? No, it appears that neither Oliver nor the idiot in the bunker are aware of that specific instruction given to them. Or, more likely, Oliver simply forgot, and the idiot in the bunker was too scared to correct one of the fireproof group of referees who are allowed to do pretty much what they want. So, fast forward to this weekend then. Does Oliver think, well, I got away with a cock-up last week, I should be perhaps a bit careful with handballs? Or does he do what he wants? Yep, it's the latter. By the way, if anyone starts to talk about shirt sleeves on this subject, win yourself an easy quid by asking where the official IFAB instructions refer to sleeves. Save you the bother, it doesn't. So again, Oliver messes up, and again the VAR official ignores the instructions, presumably in an attempt to protect his mate. Incidentally, if Bowen changed his name to Salah, we'd have had 2 penalties, and VAR made it a nice hat-trick by ignoring the offside in the build-up to their first. Watching the grid line being moved behind Aubameyang's head was a bit of an eye-opener, even for somebody as bent as PGMOL. Overall, it was a much improved performance, and a draw was probably the least we deserved. We do need to sort out the concentration a bit. Both goals owed much to lapses in that department, but there was enough out there to encourage. Of course, Saturday's match will have little bearing on this particular tie. I'm guessing we're likely to go with a similar lineup for this one as we did for the Charlton match. Even if he didn't have a dodgy toe, I wouldn't have expected Noble to play any part, and one would have thought that Haller, Anderson, Lanzini and Yarmolenko would all be in the starting 11. I thought young Cullen might have got a place on the bench for the Arsenal match, but I think he'll be there or thereabouts for the whole game. Prediction? Well, I'll go with the good start that the League Cup got off to against Charlton, and again suggest we ought to have enough class to beat a team comprised in part of players not considered to be of Premier League standard, even with us. So I'll place the £2.50 I've won so far on betting people that the laws of the game on handball make no bloody mention of shirt sleeves on us to win 2-0, hopefully avoiding the penalty shootouts that they've become so adept at. Enjoy the game.